Let's say that I want to select the URL of an email address. So in this case, we want to select Envato only and Jeffrey-Way only, the actual website name. So let's see how you would do that. Well, first we know they must be preceded by an @ symbol. So let's go ahead and add that on. And then we should look for anything as long as what follows it is a period and then the extension. So we know there's lots of extensions. There could be, let me replace these. There could be edu, there could be au, there could be .net, and there could be things like .tv. So unless I'm mistaken, it's always between 2 and 4 characters. So let's see how we can do this. I'm going to look for an @ symbol, and then I'm going to look for, let's say, any character. We can be generalized, or we can say any word character. Because I don't know specifically, can we use numbers, can we use symbols? I'm going to keep it generalized, and that's a good practice if you're not positive. But if you can be more specific, do so. We'll select any character, 1 or more, as long as what comes next, and we're going to use a positive look ahead. Look ahead, and we're not going to match what we look ahead for, but we want to make sure that that does occur there. So we're going to use $!, and I'll change it like so. Positive look ahead matches a group after your main expression without including it in the main result. So now we're going to say look for a period followed by any letter, and there can be a minimum of 2 and a maximum of 4. So now if we were to change this to something like Google, you can now see that we have updated the website name for each one. So let's take a look at this again, because I know it's starting to get confusing. We're looking for an @ symbol, and then we're trying to match the entire website name. So we're saying look for any character and find 1 or more of them. Remember, the plus sign means 1 or more. We want to select as many as possible as long as what comes after that character, and we're going to look ahead and make sure that there is a period followed by any letter and a minimum of 2 of them and a maximum of 4. So for example, notice how we have 2 and 4. Watch what happens when I bring this down to 1 character. That switches back because this is no longer matching. There needs to be 2 to 4. So let's go ahead and add that back on. So this is essentially how a look ahead works. We are saying this content, these characters must appear in the string, but we have no desire to match them. We're not going to do anything with com, edu, net. All we need to do is make sure that they are present. Otherwise, our string should not match. So that's look aheads. Let's do another quick recap of look behinds. And now we want to select the URL as long as, say, the name that comes before it is Jeffrey. And I'll change some of these so that we have something to work with. And now we're going to say, look for any character, as many as possible, as long as what comes before it is not Jeffrey. Remember, this is a negative look behind. So question mark, less than sign, exclamation point. And we want to make sure that what comes before it is not Jeffrey. And then I'll add an @ sign after. So now we've selected all of the names except for the ones that begin with Jeffrey, because we looked behind, and because we specified negative, we said this string cannot come before anything right here. Now, if we wanted to turn that into a positive look behind, the only thing we have to change is the exclamation point generally refers to not, and positive will be equal. So notice here, this is a positive look behind. The only difference between positive and negative is that the equal sign is switched out for an exclamation point. So let's do that now, and you'll see everything will be reversed. And now we're only selecting the URL where the name is Jeffrey. Now in this case, we're also, let me switch that over. In this case, we're also selecting the @ symbol, but if we only want the URL, we can go ahead and put that into the positive look behind as well. That way we're only selecting the domain. Now, if you want to latch onto that domain, make sure that you wrap the domain within parentheses, and that way we can capture it and use $1 instead. The domain is $1. So it's really quite easy to take advantage of look aheads and look behinds. Remember, you have 2 of each, positive and negative look aheads. A positive look ahead is going to be question mark equal. So let's go back to our previous example, box sizing and box shadow. If we only want to select box if it is followed by shadow, we can say look for box, but only select box if what comes after it is dash shadow. And now we're selecting this, but the advantage is we're not selecting what we don't need to. Remember, think to yourself when you're matching, do I need to match these characters, or do I need to ensure that those characters exist after this string? So here is our positive look ahead. If we want to make that negative, meaning this string cannot follow it, we're going to turn that to an exclamation point, and now that's negative look ahead. If we want to use sizing, and we only want to select it, and I'm going to change this to some gibberish, and we only want to select it if what comes before it is box, we place it before it, and now we're going to say box dash. Select sizing as long as what comes before it is box dash. And again, to make that a negative look behind, we switch that out to say this cannot come before it. Anything else can come before it, but not this sequence. And you'll see that's true because if I change it to bot, now it is being selected. But as soon as it goes back to box, no longer being selected. So in the next lesson, I'm going to teach you something we've gone over just a tad in the previous chapter, and that is non-matching groups.